Hello, hello. Welcome to Healthy Perspectives, a podcast that takes on current, cultural, and social issues through a clinical lens. Hello, hello. All right. Welcome back. Those of you who have followed us a long while, I have been gone for a bit of time. It is what it is. For those of you who know me personally, you know that I experienced a pretty difficult little medical situation. I ruptured my Achilles completely, and I've been in the repair zone. About 8 weeks ago, I had surgery. I tried to stick with this process because I know how some of you have valued it and, contributed in various ways through, different methods, including prayers, which I appreciate more than all of them. So thank you for those of you who contribute in that manner. My healing process is going well. I've been walking for the last 2 weeks, but it makes me really slow. I was actually much faster when I was on the scooter and then in the boot, and now I'm out of the boot. So life is going better every day, just a little bit at a time. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I appreciate all of your support. Hopefully now that I'm coming back, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again pretty consistently. I was really consistent for a few years, but the last month or so, not so much. And for that, I apologize. But thank you for sticking with me for those of you who have. Your tip of the day today is empathy is an every angle project. I've done a ton of stuff on empathy in the past, but let's be real. It's because our culture is awful when it comes to empathy. We are not very good at it. One of our big dysfunctions is we get a little bit of empathy going, and then we think we've gotten there. We've arrived. We have empathy. And that's just not the case. I'm going to show you that. But I also, before I'm done here, I'm using a current cultural event that hopefully you'll walk away with some, not secret knowledge, because I don't really do the secret knowledge thing, but with an understanding that is much bigger. It actually baffles me that we're not thinking about it regularly. All right. And that information goes like this. You're going to understand, you will walk away understanding why Iran needs, not wants, needs a deal now, like right now, in the next couple of months. Like it needs a deal, not wants. Okay. So that's the punchline. It's coming. I'm going to walk you there, and we're going to do it via empathy. Okay. I'm not going to cover every angle, like empathy is an every angle project. Not going to be able to do that in the time that we have, but I am going to get you there so that you understand why Iran needs, not wants, a deal right now. Okay. I'm going to take you back for a second. We're going to rewind. October 2023. In October of 2023 to August of 2024. How many of you are aware of the number of attacks on the U.S. or military personnel by Iran or Iran proxies? What do you think the number is? 15? 20? 2? 1? 0? 180 distinct attacks on U.S. military by Iran and Iran proxies. Common knowledge if you look it up. But who's talking about this? Nobody. Why? Because it's pre the Iran war that's going on now, which started February 28th to 2026. It's before that. Between October 2023 and August of 2024. In that less than 1 year period, 180 distinct attacks on the U.S. military That is crazy, folks. All right. How about this one? There were 4 confirmed military personnel who died as a result of those 180 attacks. And yet, what we talk about, what we focus on, is 13 that have died since the conflict began in February. Now, yes, 13 is bigger than 4. I don't want deaths, but there was no war, and we lost 4 people. From the perspective of the US, to just stand there getting picked off, not cool. Not cool. That was before we attacked them. There were 45 wounded between October of 23 and August of 24. 45 wounded. Now, I could expand this window because between August of 2024 and February 28th, there's more. I just wanted a glimpse. And in this glimpse, 180 distinct attacks. Crazy. Yet we focus on the 43 who are still wounded today from February 28th till now. There's been a lot more injured, but all but 43 of them have returned to duty already. 43 injured. And we focus on that, not the 45 that were wounded before we were ever at war. Let's do some current empathy. Now, I'm using language here that I haven't probably used in the past. I'm breaking it down for you. Current, like as of today. Do Americans want war? Very few. Do Iranians want war? Very few. Now, how do we know this? Because in war, people die. And people don't want their loved ones or themselves to die. Generally speaking, that's the way it is. Are there people who want war? Are there people who want death? There are. What we would say about that is they are evil. We should not want death. Death is coming, but we should not want for it. Why do we go to war? Let's empathize there. Let's take a look. Why historically we've gone to war for money, for resources. We've gone to war for security, religion, credibility. Like I said, I was going to do this, so I got to do it. Power, different various forms of power. We go to war for lots of different reasons. Why are we in this war? This is where it's going to get interesting. I'm going to propose to you that the answer to that goes backwards. Empathy in the past, like pre all of this stuff, before it. See, empathy, we suck at empathy in a lot of ways. But when we expand empathy and we instead of stopping at present tense empathy here right now, which is good, we want that, but we go back to the past and we take a look at the past and we say, hey, how did it get to here right now? Then we can start to become empathy experts. To be an expert, we have to look at the past, the present, and the hopes and fears for the future. That's why it's so easy for me to say, look, Iran doesn't want the war. We don't want the war. Because clearly, hopes and fears for tomorrow, I hope that my relatives are all alive. I hope that my buddies that we're in make it. I hope that my neighbors that go and fight survive. Well, it's a lot easier for them to survive if there's no war. See, when we empathize, it becomes much clearer. So, when do we do this? Right now. Let's get after it. When we look at the United States, in the past, historically, what we see is the US likes to be the hero. Now, that's a country I'm part of. When we stand for the right things, great, fine with it. I mean, I don't want you know, my time in the Marine Corps, one of the things I learned is we have to be prepared to be the hero. And hopefully we never actually have to be the hero. I don't want to be the hero. I am going to prepare to be the hero. That way, should an opportunity present itself where it's necessary, I don't cower in the corner, wet myself, and cry like a baby. Why do we know this? Look at the past. There were people being oppressed, Christians being oppressed in Europe. And a bunch of people sailed across in exploration of the new land. And what did they do? First thing they did was they brought over a bunch of people who were being oppressed. That's how the immigration generally occurred. Now, there's a whole nother side of this. There's a whole oppression that occurred once they got here. We're going to talk about that in a second. We love to save ourselves. What does that mean? It means we wrote a constitution that is supposed to drive us to a moral high ground, not moral superiority, a moral high ground. That high ground should consist of things like we get to let people live their life. We're not going to rob them and steal from them. They have the right to defend themselves. People can say what they want with very few exceptions. And trust me, there's a lot of people saying a lot of dumb things out there. A lot of dumb things. Just go on X or Instagram or Facebook. You're going to see a lot of dumb things. So we like to save ourselves. Racism. We screwed that up. There's a bunch of people being oppressed here. When we got here, trying to get away from oppression, we began to oppress. And thank the Lord above. I'm not kidding. Thank you. Not in vain. For real. Thank you that we saw some wisdom in saying, wait a minute. We can't become what we escaped from. Or are we any better morally? No. So what did we do? We took steps. And good steps. Let's be real. Slavery does not exist in the United States today. Not in any legal, ethical, reasonable way at all. Does that mean, that there aren't maybe some children that are being abused? Yeah, there are. Most of them didn't start here or come from here. They've been brought here, unfortunately. Moving on. The U.S. likes to save others. We know the U.S. likes to be a hero because they like to save others. We've seen it. We've seen it so many times. If you mess with our friends, then we mess with you. That's the mentality. Now, I don't always like that. It is the mentality of the United States, though. The greatest war on evil right now that the U.S. sees is terrorism. That's what it is. Okay, let's go. What we can see about Iran. Let's flip the table. Let's take a look at Iran. Then we're going to summarize this. So hang with me, folks. What we see with Iran, they like control or chaos. Control is what they're going for. They want control or chaos. How do we know this? Look in history. Who funds more terrorism on this planet than Iran? Nobody. Nobody. That seems to be common knowledge when you look at geopolitical, conversations. Everybody seems to know that Iran is the biggest funder of the chaos externally, but inside their borders, they do not want anybody to dissent. Control. Internal control, external chaos. How do we know this? Look at who they use. Look at how they are used. Take a look at the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Take a look at Hezbollah, Lebanon. Take a look at the Houthis, Yemen. Take a look at Hamas. Take a look at the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Take a look at the Shiite militias that are used, and there's a bunch of them. And what do you see? They want internally to be controlled and externally to be chaos. Out there is bad. In here, everything works in an order. And if you dissent, you die. Control. What happens, though? And here we're getting close to the punchline, folks. What happens when we empathize with a future orientation? And this is going to answer that question I told you we would answer. The question about why Iran needs, not wants, a deal right now. Okay? Everyone has talked about the timeline for President Trump. Well, we got these midterms coming up, and if he doesn't get a deal, I mean, it could be trouble for his party and all these things. Everyone's talking about that. We should be looking at what happens past that. On the other side of, regardless of the outcome, who is the president? Donald Trump. Now, you might argue that, well, given the right conditions, he might be impeached. Okay. Do you know how long that takes? Do you know how much destruction can happen in 30, 60, 90 days? We got to look past that. Our view, we got to look at that. We got to look at Iran's view. We got to look at the world view. We got to look at the regional view. And when we do that, some things become abundantly clear. We have a very strong military. Fact. Iran is getting weaker and weaker. Fact. The world is watching and thinking that Donald Trump is crazy, that Iran is crazy, and that this is a crazy war. The region is feeling the sting of a war being in their area because Iran is just sending missiles out to different areas in the vicinity just to make people function in chaos and fear. Not to mention shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. But if you look at those different angles and you empathize, this is the punchline. All right, I hope you're paying attention. If we become empathy experts, what we're going to see is that Trump's timeline is Iran's timeline. The closer we get to Trump's deadline, the more Iran needs to make a deal. Because on the other side of this, if Trump is still the president and Iran holds out and tries to create chaos, Trump will have a window of opportunity to absolutely destroy Iran, potentially remove them from the face of the earth. Now, I'm not saying he should do that, but it could happen. And who knows that? Iran. Iran knows that. They know that he could make that entire region where Iran is uninhabitable. Now, I don't want him to go that way. I'm not suggesting he should. And yet he could. He has that position. He could do that. And what would that do? Well, what we know about Iran is they got internal control and external chaos. What happens if you take the external chaos out of the picture? We don't know what will happen, which is a good reason not to do it. And yet he could do it. And Iran knows that. They do not want to cross over that line any more than Donald Trump wants to cross over that line. In other words, get to the other side of the midterm and have it go exactly how Trump does not want it to go. Because if it does, Trump's got a couple of years is all. But he could do a lot of stuff during that time to make Iran absolutely miserable. And they know that. To understand geopolitics, we have to start as empathy experts. We have to start looking at empathy not as a present tense alone situation. When I said your tip of the day was empathy is in every angle, I'm not just talking in a snapshot from every angle. I'm talking a history and a future as well. It can't just be one snapshot and, oh, I got plenty of empathy. And in order to get good at geopolitics, that's where it begins, folks. That's what you have to do. And you should be doing that in the lives around you. Can you empathize with somebody in the moment? Great. I'm happy for you. I'm excited. That's wonderful. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being serious. Can you empathize with somebody's history, present, and hopes and fears for tomorrow? When you do that, things change in a big way. And that's what we have to move to. Once we're doing that, we are so much better for one another. Because we will be able to see the things so clearly that others are debating about for months. I've been listening to debates for months on the Iran war. And what is obvious is Iran is evil. It's obvious, just objectively obvious. Why? Because evil likes chaos. Evil is incongruent, meaning they treat their own different than they treat others. It's like, come in, be underneath my influence, and I will take care of you. That's evil. When they're consistent, it's less evil. There's less evil potential. Now, the U.S., I'm not a big fan of them wanting to be the heroes. They do evenly apply it, though. They apply it both internally and externally. They want to save themselves and save others. There's a consistency to that is really incredible, to be honest. Not perfect, but we do got to become experts. We have to become experts. Empathy is a failing proposition, but the better we get, the better off everyone is. I hope this helps. Please like, subscribe, and all those things, and I'll see you again next time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate our audience a lot, so we give you some simple ways to track us down. Please like, subscribe, and follow all the podcasts on different platforms, but you can also email us at healthyperspectives@protonmail.com, or you can check out our website at healthy-perspectives.com/podcast. It's a backward slash. So if you want to go to our landing page, if you go to healthy-perspectives.com, you'll still find us. You just got to click on the podcast button. Thank you so much.